That night the king had trouble sleeping, so he ordered an attendant to bring the book of the history of his reign so it could be read to him. In those records, he discovered an account of how Mordecai had exposed the plot of Bigthana and Teresh, two of the eunuchs who guarded the door to the king's private quarters. They had plotted to assassinate King Xerxes.
What reward or recognition do we ever give Mordecai for this?
The king asked. His attendants replied, "Nothing has been done for him."
Who is that in the outer court?
The king inquired. As it happened, Haman had just arrived in the outer court of the palace to ask the king to impale Mordecai on the pole he had prepared. So the attendants replied to the king, "Haman is out in the court."
Bring him in,
the king ordered. So Haman came in, and the king said,
"What should I do to honor a man who truly pleases me?"
Haman thought to himself,
"Whom would the king wish to honor more than me?"
So he replied,
"If the king wishes to honor someone, he should bring out one of the king's own royal robes, as well as a horse that the king himself has ridden, one with the royal emblem on its head. Let the robes and the horse be handed over to one of the king's most noble officials, and let him see that the man whom the king wishes to honor is dressed in the king's robes and led through the city square on the king's horse. Have the officials shout as they go, 'This is what the king does for someone he wishes to honor.'"
Excellent,
the king said to Haman.
"Quick, take the robes and my horse and do just as you have said for Mordecai the Jew, who sits at the gate of the palace. Leave out nothing you have suggested."
So Haman took the robes and put them on Mordecai, placed him on the king's own horse, and led him through the city square shouting,
"This is what the king does for someone he wishes to honor."
Afterward, Mordecai returned to the palace gate, but Haman hurried home dejected and completely humiliated. When Haman told his wife Zeresh and all his friends what had happened, his wise advisors and his wife said, "Since Mordecai, this man who has humiliated you, is of Jewish birth, you will never succeed in your plans against him. It will be fatal to continue opposing him." While they were still talking, the king's eunuchs arrived and quickly took Haman to the banquet Esther had prepared. So the king and Haman went to Queen Esther's banquet. On this second occasion, while they were drinking wine, the king again said to Esther,
"Tell me what you want, Queen Esther. What is your request? I will give it to you, even if it is half the kingdom."
Queen Esther replied,
"If I found favor with the king, and if it pleases the king to grant my requests, I ask that my life and the lives of my people will be spared. For my people and I have been sold to those who would kill, slaughter, and annihilate us. If we had merely been sold as slaves, I could remain quiet, for that would be too trivial a matter to warrant disturbing the king."
"Who would do such a thing?"
King Xerxes demanded.
"Who would be so presumptuous as to touch you?"
Esther replied,
"This wicked Haman is our adversary and our enemy."
Haman grew pale with fright before the king and queen. Then the king jumped to his feet in a rage and went out into the palace garden. Haman, however, stayed behind to plead for his life with Queen Esther, for he knew that the king intended to kill him. In despair, he fell on the couch where Queen Esther was reclining, just as the king was returning from the palace garden. The king exclaimed,
"Will he even assault the queen right here in the palace before my very eyes?"
And as soon as the king spoke, his attendants covered Haman's face, signaling his doom. Then Harbonah, one of the king's eunuchs, said, "Haman has set up a sharpened pole that stands 75 feet tall in his own courtyard. He intended to use it to impale Mordecai, the man who saved the king from assassination."
"Then impale Haman on it,"
the king ordered. So they impaled Haman on the pole he had set up for Mordecai, and the king's anger subsided. Today we read from Esther Chapters 6 and 7 in the New Living Translation of the Holy Bible.
Thank you for reading Esther. part 4 with us. God bless you. We're praying for you, and we hope you have a great week.